If you look around the world today, it seems like we're having a little trouble trying to figure out what's the deal with God. Who is he and or she? What is he and or she thinking? What do they really want for us? Well, my friends, worry and wonder no longer, because he, that's he with a capital H, has written a memoir. It's called The Last Testament, a memoir by God. And it's the Almighty giving us his take on everything from Adam and Eve to American Idol. Now, God may have received a little help from David Javerbaum. Yeah, kind of like the Holy Ghost writer. You may not know David, but he used to write for something called The Onion and The Daily Show with Jon Stewart, and eventually became the show's exec producer. At a time when almost a third of Americans under 40 say they got their news from satirical sources, that's a lot of responsibility to bear for a comedy writer. But it's also good news for David, because he's written some of the smartest satire around.
John Kerry was head of the Liberal Union. I was head of the Conservative Union.
George Bush was the guy who would eat an onion for $1.
But not everyone's laughing about the new book, obviously. Some big retailers have refused to carry it, raising the question about what you can and can't joke about when it comes to people's faith.
I created mankind in my image, and I do not make mistakes. So it's not that 10% of thee came out defective, it's that I'm 10% gay. 15% whenever I see Ryan Reynolds. Rawr.
Please welcome David Javerbaum. Thanks to see you, man. How are you? Good. Welcome to the show. Thank you. This is a, dare I say, short of a Harry Potter sequel book, this is what we would call hotly anticipated.
Yeah, it's been a while for him.
A New Testament by God. Where does it get in your head where you're like, time to do this book?
Well, I mean, I had left the Daily Show about a year and a half ago and was looking for various jobs, and I'm a comedy writer. I'm not a theologian per se, but I was in my home office, and he came unto me, I guess he would say, and asked me if I would help him with the book, because he's not funny, God. He's not, if you know his...
But he invented it, didn't he?
I guess he did, but if you know, if you're familiar with his work, he's not very funny.
When you then go to a publisher and say, I think it's a good idea to write a book as a memoir from God.
Right.
Being an American,
right.
How does that go over?
I've been very pleased with the support I've gotten from Simon & Schuster. America, they've been great. I
heard in England they won't publish your book.
That's where I was going.
Yeah?
Simon & Schuster UK has preemptively refused to publish the book on the grounds that it is too inflammatory. That is true.
I can understand how, I know in the States, places like Walmart and that won't carry your book, but they're companies, they can choose what they want to carry or not.
Yeah, that doesn't bother me, actually. Yeah, that it was preemptively banned by the publisher, no less. I mean, I was kind of honored. It puts me in the category of writers that I don't deserve to be in the category of at all, like Joyce, But, it was a bit surprising, since they're, in many ways, the birthplace of political satire and satire of any kind.
And you've been a part of, and for those who may not know specifically the stuff that David's done, you've been a part of two of the most important comedy forces in the modern time, which is The Onion, which TheOnion.com is one of the greatest websites that's ever existed, and The Daily Show, which this show wouldn't exist if it wasn't for The Daily Show. The ground you guys broke with those programs, it can't be understated, the impact.
Thank you.
And there's been a real shift in comedy because of those two shows. Snark has become a really strong comedic delivery mechanism.
I think snarky is cynicism without justification, just to be cynical. I mean, certainly The Daily Show applies a skeptical eye to things, but John is so perceptive about what he is looking at and is so thoughtful about how he does it that I think only rarely does it come across as snarky. And certainly as the years have gone by, the show has gotten better at choosing worthy targets.
Right.
I often say The Daily Show's development as an actual news source is a product of everybody else's failure and not our success, really. Like if people are looking at The Daily Show as the only source of news out there, then that's a sad commentary on news.
Well, people certainly are. Let's go back to this book for a second, the God thing. God is also on Twitter. I suppose you follow God on Twitter?
Yes, he has a Twitter account, which is the Tweet of God.
Yeah.
And the only involvement I have with that Twitter account is that I write the tweets and send them.
Okay, so let's look at, but that's it.
That's it.
Okay. Well, let me look at this then. So this is obvious, but that's not unlike the Bible, right? God speaks through man, and man does the work.
But the thoughts, the ideas are coming directly from him to my cerebral cortex.
Okay, so here's the Twitter page of God. So I noticed this when I saw the God's. So looking at 52,000 followers, which is not insignificant, but he's following one. And I was really curious as to who God was following. Then I clicked on the one person God was following, and it was Justin Bieber. Care to explain?
I'll just tell you what he told me. He only follows close family.
Well, we know that there's only 3 in the family, and they're the same guy. Well, 2 guys in ethereal. There's the God, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost.
It's the Holy Ghost turn.
Wow. It explains a lot. Also, God is not afraid to weigh into something that's even more timely. A lot of people think some religion is outdated. Clearly, this particular version of God is not. For example, let's look at this.
Hello, I am the Lord thy God, King of the universe, and I've taken time out of my relatively busy schedule to deliver an important message to any LGBT youth out there who may feel bullied, harassed, depressed, or rejected. The message is simple. It getteth better. I know many of thy so-called holy men say that homosexuality is a sin against me. Well, I, the creator of all that was, is, and ever shall be, am here to tell thee that those whack peeps be naught but straight up haters.
Why did God do that?
God actually, for all his nastiness, is actually very pro-gay. And as he says, gay, straight, transgendered, you're all equally smiteable in my eyes.
I like that.
Yeah, it's warm. It's a nice message.
He's an equal God.
He is.
He's an egalitarian God. Going back to the British thing, isn't it time that you marshal up some of the great British atheists to get behind
Ricky
you?
Gervais and Stephen Fry. Yes, I'm trying. I'm trying.
Let's talk to them right now. We'll send this to as many people as we can. What is it you want them to do?
I would like Ricky Gervais and Stephen Fry to put aside any and all projects they have in their personal lives or professional lives and devote themselves 24/7 to the promotion of my book so that I can make more money.
You're talking about the most notable British atheists.
I think that's a perfectly reasonable request.
It's God. It's for God.
It's for God.
What were those early days at the Onion? What were the Onion like? You were there in the 90s, right?
I was not physically there. I was in New York City, temping just to make money. And a friend of mine was working as the editor there in Madison, Wisconsin, where it started, and invited me to write, articles and headlines, which I did for about 3 or 4 years.
What was the headline you're the most proud of that you wrote?
I have a couple of headlines in our first book, The Onion's first book, Our Dumb Century.
Fantastic book.
There's 2 headlines in there that I did. One was for the Titanic. It was world's largest metaphor struck by iceberg.
I love that.
And then for July 20th, 1969, the headline was, holy shit, man walks on moon.
Yeah, that was yours? That's a great headline, man. That was one of my favorite headlines. David Javerbaum, the book here is Last Testament, a memoir by God with David at the bottom right there. We'll be right back.